Alrighty, so today we are going to be using a weight 4 yarn and a 6mm hook. I do have here a J hook, 6mm hook, and we are going to be doing this shell stitch wind bag. My color A is going to be the red, and then color B is going to be blue, just because it does start with the letter B, and that'll simplify some things. Down below is going to be all your stitch counts, your timestamps, and all the materials that I recommend having, darning needles, shears, things like that. So go ahead and make sure that at the end of each row, you are checking your stitch counts with what is down below in the comment section. Again, we're going to be using weight 4 yarn, 2 different colors, and a 6mm hook. So let's go ahead and pop into the base row 1. All right, so moving into row 1, we're going to be doing a slip knot around. So what I like to do is have the tail at the top of my fingers. I'm going to wrap it around my pointer and middle up to the top. It's going to make a little X. Okay, I'm going to pinch that X, and I'm going to pull that tail and kind of make like a center spot there. And then I'm going to put my hook in, I'm going to pull. Okay, so I know I switched hooks, but it's because I had a new hook and I did not like the feel of it when I started to record. So anyways, we are going to chain 5 to get started. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we are going to slip stitch to this first chain. So go ahead and enter your hook into that first chain. You're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. Okay, now for all my patterns, if you're new to my pattern, I'm going to chain 1. That's just going to raise my hook up. Okay, and then I'm going to pull my tail, and we are going to be placing 12 double crochets in this ring, and I will be crocheting over my tail. Okay, the first double crochet though, we're not going to crochet over the tail. So go ahead and yarn over, enter into that ring. You're going to pull up your loop, you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, now I'm going to fold my tail over, and we'll do a double crochet together again. Yarn over, go into the ring, as well as have the tail there. You're going to pull up your loop, you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So go ahead and place 10 more double crochets in the ring, and you will slip stitch to the top of your first one. All right, moving into row 2 here, we are going to be, as I had mentioned, slip stitching into the top of this first double crochet. Now I will not do this with you for the most of the rest of these rows. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through both of those loops and then the loop on our hook. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, and again that's going to be at the beginning of every single one of your rows. And I am going to pull this tail really nice and tight so it closed up that hole there. And for row 2, what you're going to do, and I'm going to keep crocheting over this tail till it's non-existent, we're going to place 2 double crochets in the top of each one of these stitches. Okay, so 1 and 2, and that's all your repeat is. So go ahead and repeat that around, placing 2 double crochets in the top of each stitch. We'll go ahead and do this one together. So 1 and 2. And I'll meet you for row 3. Go ahead and slip stitch at the end of this row to the top of that first one and chain 1 to get started. All right, we're going to move into row 3 here for the base. Okay, so for this row, you are going to put 2 double crochets in the top of this first double crochet. So 1 and 2. And into the next double crochet, we're going to put 1 double crochet, and that's your repeat. Okay, go ahead and do this again together. In the next stitch, we're going to place 2 double crochets, 1, 2. Then we're going to place 1 into the next stitch. All right, that's your repeat. Go ahead and repeat that all the way around and slip stitch to the top of this first double crochet and chain 1 to get started on your next row. If you are doing a 750mm bag, go ahead and pop onto the timestamp for the first row in your the body of your bag. But if you're doing 1.5 liters, continue on to row 4 of the base with me. All right, moving into row 4 of the base, which is only for the 1.5 liter wine bag. Go ahead and click on that timestamp for row 1 if you're doing the 750 milliliter bag for the body. So for our repeat, we're going to go ahead and place 2 double crochets in the top of this double crochet. So 1 and 2. Then we're going to place a double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. Okay, let's do that again together. We're going to place 2 double crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. Then we're going to place a double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. Go ahead and do that all the way around, and you will slip stitch to the top of this first double crochet and chain 1, and we'll move into the row 1 of the body. All right, we're going to be moving into row 1 of the body. We're going to keep this color A. What you're going to do is place a double crochet in the top of this first stitch here. Okay, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to skip the next stitch. That's all the repeat is. So we're skipping this stitch. We're going to place a DC in the next one, or a double crochet for those of you that are new. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip. So go ahead and do that all the way around and check your stitch count down below for the size bag that you are working with. And then you will slip stitch to the top of this first double crochet and chain 1. All right, row 2 is still with this color A. And we're actually going to be repeating what we just did. We're going to place a double crochet in the top of our double crochet. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip the chain. And you're just going to do that all the way around. And again, you'll slip stitch to the top of your first double crochet. You'll chain 1, and then you'll fasten off, and I'll help you with that before you fasten off, okay? All right, so I have slip stitched to the top of my first double crochet, and you'll notice your project starts to roll in, so you might want to flip it. Now, I do magic knots, so I'm going to teach you how to do that. If it's too much for you, feel free to just go ahead and cut off a portion of your tail and weave in tails. But what I do is I've completed this row. I'm going to take my thumb. After I've slip stitched and chained 1, I'm going to give myself a couple millimeters, okay? I'm going to pull that hook out. I'm going to take my shears. Oh, sorry, I should have had those ready. And I'm going to cut. Okay, now I'm going to unravel just a little bit. And this is why some of you might not like it, is that you do have to repeat some stitches. I'm going to lay that yarn down. Now, I'm going to take my next color, my color B, and then I'm going to lay it like this, okay? Now, I'm going to take color B, I'm going to pass it over top of color A, I'm going to fold it down behind, okay? It should look like this. Then I'm going to make an X, okay? And then color B is going to fold inside of itself in its little loop, okay? And then pull that nice and tight, okay? Now, make sure it rolls back up, okay? So now color A is going to fold underneath color B like that, okay? And you're going to do the opposite. So color A is going to come up here, and now you've got your tail on the top. Go ahead and fold it inside of its little hole. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because we did cut it so that it would line up so you didn't have to weave in any in. So remember, we gave ourselves a couple little millimeters. So go ahead and pull that so that you've left just a couple millimeters, okay? Just like this. So you'll take some practice getting used to. So now it looks like this. And make sure, again, you've tugged these really nice, color B and color A. And now you're going to hold each of your colors and pull like this. Okay, so it should look like this. I always tug it one more time just because I'm a little paranoid. Tug it some more. Then you're going to take your shears and you're going to snip off these little tails. Put them to the side, and you will wrap up that last row one more time all the way up to the chain space. Okay, and then we're going to move in to row 2. Okay, or I guess it's row 3, excuse me. Okay, so go ahead and redo those few stitches we unraveled, and I'll meet you for row 3. All right, so we've got our magic knots. We're going to do row 3. So in the top of this double crochet with color B, we're going to place a single crochet. See, and now you don't have to weave in any ends. So now this is going to be a little bit of an intermediate stitch. Okay, so you're going to yarn over, you're going to go behind row, what is that, 2's chain space, you're going to go in front of row 1's chain space, and you're going to drop down into both loops of the skip stitch from the base. You're going to pull up your loop, okay, real nice and tall, okay. You're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and that's what it's going to look like. Now let's put a single crochet in the top of our double crochet and do that long double crochet together again. So yarn over, go behind the chain, in front of the chain, and drop down into both loops of that skipped stitch. Yarn over and pull up your loop, nice and tall. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Let's do it one last time together. You're going to place a single crochet on top of your double crochet, yarn over, go behind the first chain space, in front of the next chain space, and drop into that skipped stitch. Yarn over and pull up your loop, kind of tall. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your repeat. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around and slip stitch to the top of your first single crochet, and then we'll move into row 4. All right, so moving into row 4, as you guys have probably guessed down in the timestamps, you are going to repeat rows 4 and 5 with color B. Then you will do your magic knot and switch back to red for row 6. Do not fasten off after row 6 because we're going to use our color A for row 7, okay? So I'll meet you for row 7 in a little bit. All right, we're going to be moving into row 7, okay? You'll see I've wrapped up my repeat rows. So what we're going to do is place a single crochet in the top of this single crochet, okay? Now, we're going to skip 2 stitches, so 1, 2, and we're going to place 5 double crochets in the 3rd stitch from our single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to skip 2 stitches again and put our single crochet in the top of the next single crochet, and that's our repeat. So let's do our repeat again together. We're going to do this single crochet, we're going to skip 1, 2, and place 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you'll skip the next 2 stitches and do your repeat. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around. For the 750 milliliter bag, you're going to have 6 single crochets and 6 shells, and for the 1.5 liters, you'll have 8 single crochets and 8 shells, I believe. But go ahead and check down in the comments just to double check on your stitch count, and I will meet you for row 8. You are going to fasten off and do your magic knot with the color blue, okay? Or color B, I guess. All right, we are moving into row 8. So what we're going to do is place 5 double crochets in the top of this single crochet we slip stitched into with our new color. So go ahead and place 1. Ooh, I split my yarn. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to count to 1, 2, 3 and place our single crochet in this middle third double crochet of our previous row shell. And that's all our repeat is. So go ahead and let's do that together again. We're going to place 5 double crochets in this single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll place a single crochet in the middle double crochet of this shell. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around. And then you're going to alternate between the red and the blue. Well, excuse me. I will help you wrap up this row. All right, so I've just wrapped up my final repeat for row 8. In this go, to finish this row, we are going to slip stitch into our first, second, and third double crochets of this first shell. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to fasten off, and I will do my magic knot to switch to color A. Okay, so go ahead and do your repeats of alternating colors all the way up to the cuff, and I will meet you to explain that. Alrighty, so because I'm doing the 1.5 liter bag, I have gone up 19 rows of shells, and I've ended with color A. If you're doing the 750 milliliter bag, you should have 17 rows of shells. So for the next 6 rows, what you're going to do is repeat row 1 through 6. So just go ahead and click on those timestamps down below in the comment section and repeat rows 1 through 6. When you do your first row of double crochets and chain, skip 1 and chain, you are going to put a double crochet here in this single crochet. You're going to skip the first double crochet in your shell. You'll put a double crochet in the second. You'll skip the middle. You'll put a double crochet in the fourth, and you'll skip the fifth, and then you'll repeat that for all of the shell sections. So I just wanted to put that note there, but go ahead and repeat rows 1 through 6, and I will meet you for the last row and then the straps. All right, so I wrapped up my rows 1 through 6 and repeated that. And so for this last row, before we do the strap, all you're going to do is place, starting in the single crochet that you slip stitched into, we're going to place a single crochet all the way around. So for the 750 milliliter bag, you'll have 36 single crochets, and for the 1.5 liter, you'll have 48 single crochets, and you'll slip stitch to join and chain 1, and then we'll move into the strap. Do not fasten off. All right, moving into row 1 of the first side of this strap. Before we get started, if you're doing the smaller wine bag, the 750 milliliter, I want you to place a stitch marker at the 19th stitch. If you're doing the 1.5 liter, you're going to place it at the 25th stitch, okay? Because that's where we're going to attach our second side. So now this is super easy. You're going to love this style of a strap because there's not a lot to do. All you're going to do is place 5 single crochets across here, starting in the one that you slip stitched to. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work. Now for the smaller bag, you will work 15 rows total on this side. If you're doing the larger bag, you'll work 19 rows, okay? And then you will chain 1 and fasten off and weave in that end, and I will meet you for the second side, and we're going to attach our yarn over here at the stitch marker. Alrighty, so I do have side 1 of this strap all done. I've weaved in my ends. I've gone zigzag through here, through the next row, through the third row, and back up into the second row. And so now what we're gonna do is we are going to put our hook where our stitch marker is. I'm doing the larger bag, so I'm going to put it in my 25th stitch. If you are doing that smaller bag, you should be in your 19th stitch. So I am not going to do a slip knot or anything. What I'm going to do is give myself about 6 to 7 inches of yarn, okay? I'm going to fold it over as a tail, and I'm going to fold it over my hook. I'm going to pull it through that stitch, and all I'm going to do is fold the yarn forward, or the tail forward, okay? I'm going to chain 1, kind of tighten it up, and now I'm going to repeat what I did for side 1. I'm going to put 5 stitches across here. So 1, and I'm going to be crocheting over this tail. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've done that. I'm going to pull my tail nice and tight, okay? And now what I'm going to do is fold this tail up, and I'm going to chain 1, and that way when I turn my work to do the remaining rows, I can then crochet over my tail until I no longer have a tail. And so I'm going to work that up. Do not fasten off, because we're going to still use color A to combine our 2 sides together. So I'm going to wrap up this side, and then I will meet you to seam up our strap, and then we'll be finished. Alrighty, so I have both sides of my strap completed here, and what I'm going to do is chain 1. Okay, now I'm actually going to be turning this bag, so I'm going to be kind of working on it upside down. Okay, give me a second here. And what I'm going to be doing, sorry, is I am actually going to have my hook in this loop. I'm going to pull it nice and tight here. And I'm going to be working in the front loop only of side 1, okay? And then I'm going to work in the back loop only of side 2. And so we're going to put our hook, into the front loop only here. Might be a little tight just because of that weaving in that end. And then I'm going to put my hook in the back loop only of side 2. Now I'm going to slip stitch. I pulled that nice and tight, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on my hook. Okay, we're going to repeat that across here. We're going to go into, and I always take my hook and pick up like that. Front loop only, then the back loop only, and slip stitch through all 3. Let's do it a 3rd time. Okay, front loop only, back loop only, slip stitch through all 3. All right, number 4. Back loop only, front loop only, slip stitch through all 3. Okay, now I know the 5th one is going to be the hardest here, because just the way that it happens, it always is a little bit tighter. So front loop only, back loop only, pull your yarn, it's probably going to loosen up, and slip stitch. Okay, now chain 1 and turn your strap inside out. You don't have to like do a whole lot to do that. Just kind of fold it over. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go through the 2 loops. Again, the 1st and the 5th, they're always hard. So if you have to, use your hook the way I am. Go through that. Front loop only. Y'all see I'm on the struggle bus, so if you're struggling too, that's normal. But it'll look nice and pretty when you're all done. 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go through this one. Alright. Pull my yarn. And, oops, sorry, I hit the camera. We're going to slip stitch through all 3. Okay. Let's do that again. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Oh my goodness. And then number 5 is going to be tough, so use my hook in that fancy way. And last slip stitch here. All right, so now you're going to chain 1, and you'll cut off a normal tail, like 6 inches or 4 or 5 inches, 6 inches, whatever your normal is, and you're going to weave in the end. And what I usually do, you're going to pull that yarn through, is I start by pulling it and I go through my first slip stitch on the other side, and then I'm going to weave it in a zigzag pattern again. And that's all your bag is, all complete now. So you should have a completed wine bag. Congratulations, and thank you for following. I hope you get into more tutorials here on Pick a Tricks, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel.